He ain't working anymore. So stand here in Boston today and sing our simple song, a song for jobs and justice, one nation proud and strong. It's time to tell Obama we won't take it anymore. We demand a peace economy, no more money for the war. No more money for war.
Come on, people, let's turn this country round. Stop war spending and fund women now.
Laura, are you Laura? Where's Laura? Laura is from the Vets for Peace, and she's going to say a few words with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for being here. I'm here representing Veterans for Peace. We are a very proud co-sponsor of this event today. And I was asked to say a little bit about how I came to be involved with Veterans for Peace. Why Veterans for Peace? I myself am a veteran. I was in the United States Navy, 4 years active duty in the early 90s during the time of the first Gulf War. And I was lucky, really, because I didn't get sent to the Gulf, and I was never in combat. I think if I had been, my journey toward peace activism probably would have been faster, if anything. I did serve most of my time as a special agent in NIS, which is now called NCIS. Nothing like the television show, in case you were wondering. While I was in the Navy and during the Gulf War, I had a lot of doubts about what we were doing. I had just many doubts, many questions. I had nagging doubts. But you know, you want to brush them away. And this is something important. If you've never served in the military, maybe something important to think about when you think about active duty service people. Most of them are young people, patriotic Americans. They want to think that they're doing something good. They're serving their country. The intentions are very good. Wonderful young people. The last thing you want to think is that what you're doing might not be good. When I got out of the Navy, I didn't immediately become a peace activist because as a veteran, it's constantly ingrained in you that you shouldn't speak out publicly against war. You should never speak out publicly against war because you're hurting morale. You're hurting morale of the active duty service people. And I have to tell you, as a veteran, you always feel some sort of bond for the young people who are serving. If you can't help it, you feel for them. And I feel very much for the people serving today who have it a lot worse than I did with these seemingly endless wars and the constant deployments that they face. I can't imagine how hard that must be. So I don't like the idea of hurting the morale. But I have to say that when the Iraq War started 8 years ago, it's almost been 8 years, and then things got hopping in Afghanistan too. None of it made sense to me. These wars seemed very wrong, very pointless. We know thousands of people are dying, U.S. service people. We know civilians are dying in Iraq and Afghanistan. And at some point, as much as it was ingrained in me not to speak out in public against war, you reach the point where sparing feelings isn't as important as sparing lives.
Called City Life. They're the ones, yay, City Life! But City Life really helps folks that right in front of their faces, help preserving their homes, do all the work on the ground. So let's hear it from Melanie, who's going to tell us about herself in City Life.
Hello everyone. How's everyone feeling out there? I'm not great with singing, but I'm a rallier, guys. I like to say good, right? We're all out here today to celebrate International Women's Day. And we're going to make enough noise about it this year so that next year we get double the amount of women out here, okay? Raise our numbers so that everybody knows. There's lots of great work being done in this city, not just in the city, but in our state. A lot of great work that's led by women. At City Life, we fight every day to teach people how to get their voice back, how to use their voice, how to not be afraid to speak out, but because the system has us stifled. They have us thinking that if we speak out, it's a bad thing. We have to not be afraid of this. There are many families families in our room that are affected by the fact that we're not bringing our war dollars home. We teach people how to make connections. We're all in our rooms for housing and issues around housing. But when we learn how to make the connections, we realize that there are families in there that are affected by the jobs crisis. There are families that are affected by the crisis that's following immigrant workers and immigration crisis. There are families that have people overseas on active duty fighting wars for this country while their parents are being evicted out of their housing. Out of all of these crises, we can build leaders. We can take back our cities. We can make demands that nobody ever thinks will work.
Thank you, Rachel. From Afghanistan to Egypt to Wisconsin and Massachusetts, let's bring our war dollars home! Bombing Afghanistan, occupying Iraq, and maintaining 1,000 military bases around the globe costs billions a week. And aid to dictators like Mubarak and rogue states like Israel cost U.S. taxpayers billions a year. Meanwhile, domestic programs like heating assistance for low-income families and public workers like firefighters and teachers see their budgets slashed. People everywhere are rising up to demand money for jobs, housing, and education, not for wars and occupation. And with fuel and food prices continuing to rise, these movements will continue to grow. When public employees like the state of Wisconsin or Massachusetts try to scapegoat public employers try to scapegoat public employees and make them pay the cost of the fiscal crisis with their wages, benefits, and pensions, we need to make some basic points. Public workers and workers generally did not create this crisis. Their wages and benefits are not what caused the deficit. The crisis is a product of greed and fraud on Wall Street. And the elite investor class whose irresponsible speculation drove the economy into the toilet and produced recession that has drastically cut into our tax revenues. The crisis was created by a tax policy that's given one tax break after another to the wealthiest Americans and to big corporations, many of which use those funds to ship jobs to other countries, and some of which pay no taxes at all, like Boeing, Citigroup, Bank of America, GE, and ExxonMobil. This unfair tax shift deprived the government of revenues and pushed the burden onto the backs of working people. The crisis is a result of decades of ever-escalating military expenditures for wars our country never should have started, and in support of an international network of 1,000 military bases that make us no safer and cost us more than $300 billion per year, not counting the wars. The total deficit of all the states together is about $130 billion. This year, the U.S. will spend another $118 billion on just the wars and occupations, plus another $7.5 billion to maintain our nuclear arsenal. We must reject the Koch brothers' divide and conquer strategy and unite public and private sector workers to demand a just economy that works for everyone rather than one that serves only the privileged, wealthy elite.